Hey guys, welcome to an episode of Tiny Tim's Minis. Today we're going to be making a YETI diorama. Let's start it. The next couple videos we're going to be making, they're going to be focused on the cryptozoology kind of creatures. This week we're doing a YETI. Used a few new techniques that I haven't used before. Tried out some snow. Didn't have any products that I bought for the snow. Made our own. So if you're curious on that, watch through the video. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But let's not waste any time. Let's get into this build. The first thing I had to do was get a scale for the YETI with the miniature I was going to use for the hiker. I figured the YETI would be around 8 feet tall, so I guesstimated the size. I cut out a wire frame so that when I added the clay, it would add some sort of rigidity to the frame. For the hiker, I found someone that looked like they were running for their lives. However, I trimmed up his coat. I wanted to eventually add a backpack to him, so his coat would get in the way of that, so it had to go. For the diorama base, I like to use 1x1 Plaster of Paris squares. It adds some weight to the piece that I like. Styrofoam and other commonly used bases are fine, I just like the plaster. I glued the plaster together. I wanted to incorporate a cave, so I built up the left side a little bit to add a hill. For the cave, I cut a styrofoam cup and added a layer of liquid latex to give it some stability. Once it was all dried up, I used some Sculptamold to add some topography to the plain blocks. I eyeballed the ratio of water to Sculptamold. I didn't want it to be too runny, but I wanted a bit more rigidity so that it would stick underneath the cave entrance. Once I applied the Sculptamold, I added plaster rocks while the Sculptamold was still wet. I do this to make sure that the rocks look seamless in the terrain. For the YETI, I add a base layer of white on his coat. And a light blue to his face, hands, and feet. I do some touch-ups, then focus on the detail in the mouth and eyes. Once I finish all the details, I add a black wash over all the figure. This is an easy way to add shadows to your minis. the hiker, I start with a base coat of white, then paint on details that a hiker would have.
It helps the speaker lead his audience into the scene he describes by creating an imaginary picture.
I also made a backpack for him so that he would look official. On the rocks, I added a layer of Mod Podge mixed with black paint. This would add an extra layer of protection against the rocks and the Sculptamold.
So then, why?
The layer of black Mod Podge actually made the terrain look pretty nice. It added some good contrast of grays and blacks, but I wanted to look more natural. So I painted everything that was supposed to be a rock with a gray paint. Then I added a black and brown wash to it, then dry brushed it white. Once all the paint dried, I got a little dirty. I used straight Mod Podge on the surface and sprinkled some dirt from my backyard onto the glue. I also added a little spray of scenic glue on top of the dirt to make sure none of the loose biddies would go flying. I painted the dirt a uniform brown. The dirt was a bit light for my liking. I added a wash over the dirt and then did the same thing I did to the rocks. I added a light dry brushing to give some highlights. To make this mountain look like a mountain, we need some snow. I mixed up some baking soda, regular white glue, and a matte medium. I probably would have used a glossy medium instead of the matte medium. It might have given it a bit more of a melty snow, kind of slushy-ish texture to it, but I used what I had. Turned out pretty good. The matte medium is used as a coat for the baking soda. Baking soda tends to turn yellow over time, so I added this mixed in with everything to make sure that the baking soda doesn't turn like a pea yellow. I eyeballed the mixture. It had a slimy consistency. I didn't want it to be too runny like a wash, and I didn't want it to be so thick that it wouldn't spread. The powdery layer of snow is first spraying a clear matte spray paint over the whole diorama, then sprinkling some baby powder over the piece. I did that a few times until I thought it looked like a heavy coat of snow had just fallen. For my last little detail, I cut up a few figures I had and added some dark red paint to the end to make it look like the Yeti had finished a decent meal of tourist. I added the figures in and voila! Dang, that coffee's good. Alright, so I had a lot of fun building this piece. I learned a lot of new techniques that I can use for my dioramas in the future. If you guys like the techniques, make sure you guys hit that like button down low. If you want to see anything in miniature form, leave a comment down below. Maybe one of your comments will inspire me to make something cool. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell notification so I have a video coming up every week. Don't miss them. If you want to follow me on Instagram, that's going to be at Tiny Tim's Minis. Make sure you do that. And I will see you guys next week.